What is up, people of YouTube? I'm your host Vernon. This is Falcon Lake. Let's fish that. Alright, ladies and gents, I've now been making videos here on YouTube for several years, and every time I go out fishing, I'm quite amazed at how difficult it actually is to catch fish. In my mind, I have this idea where I've caught fish before, so it should be easy to get them, but actually every time is a bit of a struggle. Now, if there's one species that I've been struggling quite a lot with, it is actually bass. Now, back in Nevada, I actually caught quite a lot of smallmouth and largemouth bass. You can typically start targeting them from March, end of March, early April. That's typically when they start spawning. But compare that here to Canada, there's actually quite a lot of bass here as well. Canada is known for having some big smallmouth bass, but I've really been struggling to get on some smallmouth. A large part of it is having to relearn how to catch these fish, especially using barbless hooks. I've lost quite a lot of fish when they spit out the little lure. So I thought I wanted to give bass fishing another try. It is actually the end of May at the moment. That is typically when the spawning season happens for the bass up here in the northern parts, a lot later. And to be honest, I actually wanted to do a video like this somewhere in Nopaming, maybe trying some of the lakes out there for some bass. And you might actually be aware of this, but there are several large wildfires in Manitoba at the moment. A large part of the Whiteshell area is actually closed, as well as Nopaming, large, dangerous fires, lots of property damage, and sadly losing some people as well. Now, the fires have moved on a little bit, and some of the areas are actually starting to reopen again. So I wanted to try Falcon Lake again. I actually tried bass fishing here before, didn't succeed. I want to give it another go. And like I mentioned, it is actually spawn season. So any fish we catch, it's very important to release them. This is for the future of our fisheries. You don't want to be messing around with the spawning fish, but we're not going to be able to catch anything standing around here. So let's get down to the water. Right, so today is actually a nice sunny day. There's actually all of the smoke out there. That is what's the vast majority of the cloud cover. And I'm hoping that that will actually be an advantage, having low light conditions. But I'm going to be starting off at this little dock here. If we don't have any action here, we can always go to the park across the lake there. I have seen some bass last year over on that side. So we'll try around here for a while. If nothing, we'll go to that side. I'm just going to opt for using some lures out there today. The types of things I know work for bass. I'm going to start off with some Ned rigs out there. I also have a selection of other lures I can use. I'm going to start with my confidence baits, things that I do know work. We just had a little bite. And it's a little pike. Hope my line will hold. This is only 4-pound test line. Toothy critter like this might be a problem. And indeed, just as I picked him up, he broke off our little lure. Didn't get to pick him up, but at least we got a fish. I need to tie on a new lure. Right, so I made a few casts there by the docks, and I have to say it's rather rocky around there, lots of structure and rocks down below, so I think that's actually a perfect place to find craws. So when these fish are in summer looking for some crawdad seed, I think that's going to be a good spot. But at the moment, I think the bass that I'm looking for, they're going to be looking for sandier, beachier type of areas, anywhere where you have a better substrate for them to try and make their beds. They're not going to make their beds in between the rocks. They're looking for spots where you have some ground that they can clear to make their beds. That's why I made my way over to this park now. I think I'm going to be casting around here, see if we can find some fish. Alright, ladies and gents, this was the particular spot that I was thinking of. You can see we have some small rocks, there's a bit of a drop off, and then there's actually quite a lot of sandy area. Now in summer this is a particular spot that grows quite a lot of grass, but at the moment there's not that much grass out there. And sadly, I actually just hooked a little smallmouth. This is the first fish I've seen in this area the entire time, or the first smallmouth I could see. It was a small fish, probably a pound, maybe a pound and a half, but I sadly lost that fish even before I could get the camera on. But that just gives me the confidence that this is the spot that I need to be at, so I'm going to focus most of my time around here, try some different lures and stuff, different colors. Gonna cast around, let's see, fingers crossed, hopefully we can land one. Not a smallmouth, another little pike. We have the net, so let's use it this time. Relax, buddy, relax, relax. So not our target species, but at least we got a fish landed. Let's get this guy back to the water. Off he goes. Second little pike for today. This one we actually got to get a hold of. Now this little pike is actually sitting right next to this rock here. I can still see him there. He's not swimming away. That gives you an indication of how well I can see into the water. And so far I've only seen that one little smallmouth, the one that I hooked, the one that I lost. Not seen any other smallmouth. But if the pike are up this shallow and the smallmouth not, then maybe the water is still a little bit cold. If you're wondering what I got that fish on, I'm using a little elastic fish imitation, and I'm just drop shotting that, having a little loop knot below, and below that is a little drop shot rig. Just wanted to give a bit of a higher presentation. I'm not getting as many hits down on the bottom, so I thought let's try and mix it up a bit. Alright, ladies and gents, if today's video was about small jackpike, then we would have slayed out there. But unfortunately, it is not. It is about smallmouth bass. Now this is why in the beginning of this video I said it is difficult to do fishing. Yeah, I got on a lot of fish out there today, but I didn't get the smallmouth bass that I was looking for. Now I did manage to hook up on one and lose it, and I did see two other smallmouth bass, male and female, swimming together. They weren't on a bed, they were just kind of cruising around. That just kind of tells me that I don't think these fish are bedding at the moment. I think the water temperatures are just a little bit too cold. I need to remember that just a few weeks back there was still ice on this lake, and it does take quite a while for the water temperatures to get just right for the fish to start sporting. Now that being said, I did have fun out there, didn't lose a lot of lures. That's the great thing about fishing this early in the season, not a lot of grass to get snagged on. But unfortunately, my timing was just a little bit out not to get those smallmouth. But if you know of a specific lake where it's a bit easier to get on smallmouth, please go in the comments and tell me where to go, where to try. Right, but by now you should know the rest. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I hope you enjoyed this little trip, and I want to thank you for following along. And like always, I'll see you next time.